loud, which means that it will mostly just be speaker view. What's the baby? Yes, Cassie had a baby, which can be seen, yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so it's kind of exciting. Good things and bad things. It's good things are happening too, right? Not just horrible things are happening. Good things are happening. Babies are being born. Yeah, so I thought that I was going to do a little bit more free movement today, a little bit more exploration, and a little bit more breath and sounding. So the breath work and the sounding work is mostly from Continuum, although Irmgard Bartenieff, who brought the Laban work to the US, um, was a physical therapist, a dancer, a performer, all those things, and she ended up and a pioneer in dance movement therapy, and she had a system of sounding, and an idea that went with the system of sounding, which I've heard sort of echoed in many other systems. So, there's chanting, right, of any kind from any religion. So there's many ways that these sounds can come in. And I remember when I was like, it must have been in the 90s, and I saw Hunan Her, this Tuvan throat singer concert at Symphony Space in New York City, and they do the overtones. So like they're doing those sounds with the overtones, and I just noticed that it immediately dropped me into this parasympathetic, like, this really deep nervous system, healthy, healy, good juju meditational state. And so I found that with some of the breaths, with some of the continuum breaths, you get that overtone. It might not be out that people can hear it externally, but I can always hear these layering of sounds in my head. And I feel like when I get to that layering, it becomes something very nonlinear, and it does something to my nervous system that is like, it's expansive in a way that is most things I don't find expanse in, like without altered substances or I don't know, or meditational states. So I kind of want to play with some of those ideas with sound and shape and where we are in the body. Um, and I'm sure that you guys have all come from different areas where you have some different uh, interrelationships with these ideas. And I'm just presenting them as ideas to be explored. Not that I know anything about any of it, because it could be very different for you than what it is for me. That's one of the things I like about the continuum system. It's like, well, there are sort of generalities that we can all agree on, but maybe we can't all agree on them. It could always be different. So let's start with you could be standing for this if you want, or you could be seated. But just coming in for a landing in your body. I'm going to put a hand on my chest. I'm going to back up a little bit, and a hand on my belly. And my knees are really wide. And I can feel my feet on the floor. This could be standing, this could be seated, however you want. And I'm just going to tune into my sit bones or my feet, whichever one it is. Hey, Alex. And by shifting, oh, he can't hear me. You've got your headphones on. From side to side. So shifting my weight just from one sit bone to the other. And I want to imagine almost like I'm pouring my body from one side to the other. And I'm going to close my eyes as I pour. And maybe I'm actually going to try this standing. I'm going to probably try it in a few different versions. So if you need to change, try seated, try standing, go ahead. But just, it's super different in each one. But letting yourself come into sort of a slower state in your body, and sort of pouring yourself without a right or wrong way of pouring from one side to the other, either from one sit bone or from one foot. And in that pouring of yourself from one side to the other, start to feel how the rest of your body responds to that movement. So are we like kind of a unit moving on top, or is there some fluidity? Is there some forward backward? Is there some up down? Is there some side side? Well, there's definitely side side because we're pouring from side to side. And what just feels good and nourishing to your body as you're in that space? And I want to add a sound that's actually not I think it's not a vocal cord sound, it's just aspirated, so it's kind of like wind. And you can let your hands drop if you want, or you can keep them there. But so like imagining almost like wind through, like wind blowing through a cave on the water. So there could be all sorts of different sounds with that. And there could even be like kind of spit in your throat, like that type of thing as well, if that's interesting. But letting yourself have this sort of wind your inhalation is just going to be a normal inhalation. If it's possible to go through your nose, do that. If you need to go through your mouth, that's fine. And then the exhale, this. And I'm just going to mute you all so that it doesn't come through, that you become the leader. Starting to tune into the sensation of the tissue in your face, in your throat, your neck, your tongue, your jaw, all the way down into your lungs, diaphragm, and even into the sort of gut body from tongue to tail. And as you're in that, just kind of tuning into the shape and space of that sound. How is that shape and how is it shaping into your body? And what kind of space is it taking up? It doesn't have to be geometric. It can just be it's big, it's small, whatever that means to you. It doesn't have to be the Laban space. And I want to allow you also to let your arms free up so that you're starting to have this kind of maybe wind dance. So in your wind dance, there may be some real fluctuations of flow, of like really free flow, really contained flow, really slowing down. Maybe there's some speeding up moments. And if you get tired of that breath, just take away the breath and just let your body move, imagining that sound. Yeah, letting yourself kind of taste into what would be delicious within this dance of mobility. And maybe there's some stability, but maybe it's really more about mobility. And I want to start to add more vocalized sounds. So I want to add like a ooh. So I'm going to do, there's a continuum breath called the Petal Breath. It's an Emilie Conrad thing, and that is like this idea that your mouth is kind of opening and closing like a flower blossoming. But we want to also free up our face. So a lot of our personality holding pattern is in the tissue in our face. So it's going to be kind of like this. And depending on how I shape my mouth and my face, I can sort of get these weird overtones. So it doesn't matter what you look like. And if you want to turn away from the camera, you're totally welcome to. It's kind of hard to allow your face to be that free in public, I know. So play with the O sound and anything that comes up in your body with that O, and letting that mouth, so the sphincters, the O-rings of your mouth, which when you start to move the O-rings of your mouth and maybe your eyes, it's going to also do something to the ones in your body as well. So just allowing that kind of, this kind of action through the whole gut body in whatever way feels interesting for you, and and giving yourself that petal breath with the oohs and the ohs. Or taking resting breaths. So if you feel like it's too much, just move your body. allowing yourself to sort of take in and notice the dynamic, energetic patterns, the space, and by that I mean the spaciousness within or without your body, where your energy and your attention goes to, what's happening for you in there, what your tempo is, what sort of systems of the body you can sort of feel. So maybe your heartbeat, maybe your pulse, maybe just the rise and fall of the breath, maybe you become more aware of your skin or your organs, whatever, or your feet, just tuning into what comes alive for you. And maybe one more time, one more round of that, and then we'll come back together. Yeah, and you can keep moving. Or come close and discuss. But if you feel like you want to stay in your exploration, by all means do that. Just asking what's coming up. What are you noticing? What is coming online as you're in that place, if anything?
Well, I feel wild exploration in many different directions as it goes in and out and up and down and left and right and turned like that or up straight, and it's really the voice gives the base of the exploration in completely freedom. It's very nice. Yeah.
Thanks. Makes me yawn irrepressibly. Fabian. Yeah. It's funny. I would need to get a root canal. I had an infection in my jaw. And while I was in that place of having, it didn't hurt me hardly at all, but I couldn't yawn. I couldn't, and it wasn't because it hurt to open my mouth. It was like somehow I couldn't have that full expression of yawning. And this lasted for a few weeks until I got a root canal, and then it all kind of worked out, and then I could yawn again. But I was like, wow, this is really, really weird. Just that connection of our teeth and our jaw into our systems, like, and how important that is to us. What else? Dawn, what'd you notice? You're muted.
So I haven't moved in a really long time, it seems like. So that I just wasn't in my body. So I needed to move a little bit before, and I needed to make other sounds to get myself, so that felt good. And then I was just writing that I always start yawning. I almost always start yawning when I start somatically connecting. I always find that interesting. And Nancy Top, her work. She not only incorporates but encourages yawning. So everyone brings their little tissue, their little toilet tissue with them to class, and everyone's like, ooh, ooh, as they start to stretch. And she died in that crash, that Swiss 111 crash over Nova Scotia, and they had this wonderful memorial at Judson Church, and they did a performance, and they each brought their little toilet tissue, and they're up there performing and blowing their nose. So I think of that as I start to yawn. I think I just let it go. I don't know why that is, but
I used to always say to my students when, like in a Pilates class, we'd be doing something really, I have to say my Pilates class is very not Pilates, but along the lines of a little bit of Pilates. So kind of, right? So I would say, okay, now yawn, but let your body yawn too. So the yawn is in your hands, the yawn is in your chest, the yawn is in it is that arch and curl, right? That expansion, which is like a natural reflex. Yeah. I think babies, well, like that, right? If we spent more time on our stomachs, getting that back strength, arching up, opening up. Anyway, yeah, so bring the whole yawn in, bring it on, and bite it into the whole body.
I'm going to put Nancy's name in this chat because the Nancy Top technique is another somatic technique that I studied a lot and I like it. So I'm going to put it in the chat.
Cool. How about everybody else? Lindsay, Kathleen, anyone want to say anything? Yeah.
I just felt like the toning was kind of like meditative, and I could feel a bit of that reverberation in my gut rib cage, but the face just felt really silly and I loved it. And then I noticed after I'd done that for a while, first I'm like, this isn't supposed to be silly, so don't be silly. And then I'm like, what the fuck, be silly. And then I'm like loving that. And then when I came to the screen and kind of rested, I'm just like, yeah, my face is more soft. My eyes were more open. I'm not sure if I'm still there, but it shifted things and brought me more present with that shift, which was
Yeah, and I feel like yawning with silliness, like bring it on. We all need more silliness. And like, I mean, sometimes it happens if I'm teaching kids and they're all start laughing because we're doing something that's so weird and it's like, okay, can we get beyond the laughter? But sometimes we can't. Sometimes we can't do it that day. So we have to come back to it another day, right? Like, but at the same time, why would we ever want someone to stop laughing if it's like a body thing, right? I feel like laughing and crying both have that huge nervous system effect for your heart and lungs, right? It's like, so it's got to be cranial, 10th cranial nerve, vagus nerve also. Kathleen. Oh, you're muted.
So I enjoy the sounding because I enjoy the feeling of resonance inside my body. And in that moment, since the indication was side to side, with the sounding, I wanted to take much more space. But I didn't allow myself because I was going side to side. But the feeling was to break free. Very nice.
Kathleen, do you have a background as a dancer?
Yes.
Okay, so so does Cassie, and so do I, and I mean so do a lot of people, and Dawn, and Lindsay. I imagine you're a dancer too, kinda. Martial arts, and Stephen is just a general, like all sorts of things. You're a multi everything.
Especially mime and theater.
Mime and theater.
Yeah, body.
Okay, so all this body stuff. I find that dancers often want to do the right thing, right? I didn't let myself do the thing I wanted to do. So let go of that. Like, especially in here, like let your body do whatever it wants to do. That's like been a huge key part to my learning. Like if it means that you need to run around the room and do something totally different than what I'm saying, do it by all means. Unless you really feel like, no, I want to know what this thing has, then by all means make your own choice, of course. But if you're feeling a thing, be free to do it. Don't feel like Dawn has at times needed to do a headstand or a handstand in the back. And I'm like, just go do it. I get it. I get it what it's like to have those impulses. And I feel like the impulses, like we're so trained not to follow our impulses. And, you know, there are probably really good reasons for that in order to live in society. And at the other end of it, it means that we don't listen to what our bodies want and need anymore. So just adding that little piece.
Okay.
My mailman just came up there. Okay, so let's go with a couple more sounds here, and let's actually do the Bartenieff one. So with Bartenieff, I'm just going to do it seated. You could do it laying down on the floor also. The idea is that oo is down here, o is a little higher, ah is coming up to here, a is up here, and e is in your throat. Doesn't matter what pitch you're doing, but this is just what I learned when I was studying Maman Bartenieff. And it kind of made sense to me. It made more sense to me when I was laying on the floor than when I'm sitting up. So feel free to lay down for it. Actually, I think I'll lay down too, and then you will really feel free to lay down. So we're gonna do hands on your belly, and we'll start with the oo sound. And it's probably, yeah, I'm gonna mute you all again, so you don't need to worry about that. It'll just be me oohing all over the place. But always feel free to unmute anytime you want to. Cassie, I am making you a co-host. It's possible that Peen is going to show up halfway through. Okay. So we're going to start with the oo sound, hand on your belly. We'll do it like maybe two times. Then we'll go up to O, and then to ah, and then to A, and then to E. And I'm not going to say it. I'll just start changing and you can come along. And maybe you want to stay longer in oo or e or something else or do something totally different and roll around. That's fine. Starting with oo. Just one more thing. Don't think you need to make it last forever. Just let it last as long as it feels comfortable. So you can do them at any pitch. Also, like you could do a high E or a high oo or a high O, which is going to also change the location of the vibration. Let's play with going oo o I E. So like ooh, you can have a different tempo than me. You don't need to go at the same time. And then let's change it to E A I O let's just from that space allow your body to move into exploration of whatever feels good. Anything that feels interesting and delicious, let your body and your tissue start to wake up into that. And then I want to also just throw out there that you could add sounding to any of this at any time. Any of the sounds we've done, any other sounds, but just allow yourself a chance to explore the roll, explore the floor, being in your body in whatever way feels delicious. Yeah, and maybe you even want to try level change. So we're just exploring the floor. Nice to see you, Peen. Exploring the floor, exploring movement. We've just done a bunch of sounding, so we're kind of letting ourselves. You can play with level change. You can even play with like more muscular stuff like pushing, pulling, twisting, whatever feels good to you. Letting yourself mobilize or crawling or anything. Yeah, just allowing yourself some relationship to the floor. Oh, and this thing that I want to talk about, gravity. This idea that not only the gravity is really a support. So there's the coming down and going up, but how supportive both sides of the gravitational field can be for our bodies and for our tissues. So letting yourself really be three-dimensional in whatever way. Maybe that just means your whole body is expansive. But letting yourself mobilize, wiggle, shift, or just lay there, whatever feels good to you. You could be in slow, you got the dog is in. He's like, what's going on? Just waking up and imagining that as we're in this, like that outer layer of skin moving into the, what is it called? The superficial fascia, which is all like squishy and supportive, letting yourself get into your skin and kind of hydrating skin, superficial fascia by moving, by giving yourself mobility. Rolling, moving, pushing, pulling, finding different ways of mobilizing around. I like to say, if you just landed in a body as an alien and you never experienced what a human body was, how would you figure out what it could do? So letting yourself experiment with what's possible in that body that you've landed in, or in the dog's body that you get to touch. If you have a little furry friend involved in the process. Just feeling around. And as you're feeling, also sort of pay attention to your senses. Like, there's the kinesthetic, there's the touch, proprioception, interoception, all that. But what about like your smell and your sight and your sound? How are they participating? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What does it smell like? So it's sort of a whole body experience. And if you feel ready for it, start to let your level changes get bigger and bigger. So it could be really low to the floor and then coming up higher, even up to standing, and then getting back down again. Just playing with mobility of level change, different ways of getting up and getting down. Different body parts reaching high. With no need to be even on your two sides. You can just be as weird and as uneven as your organs are. Yeah, letting yourself just explore. Finding different ways to locomote, even low locomotion or high locomotion, different ways to get around. And just thinking back to when we were standing and pouring from side to side in the beginning, what's happening now? What's being poured around? How is it being poured around? And let's slowly start to bring it in. So come to a close in your exploration. Or if you feel like continuing to explore, by all means do that. And let's just come in and find your way, or not, to the screen. So what are you noticing? What did you notice? What popped out for you?
The floor is softer as I expected. So yeah, it's not so hard as I thought, like it would pain me. So I'm grateful to feel that.
There's a word for English that some of the Laban people use, and that is yield. Yield into the floor, right? So that it's like, you're not fighting against it. You can use it as your partner and your friend. Lindsay and Dawn. So Lindsay and then Dawn.
My experience was just very freeing. I think the toning just brought me into my body and expressive, and I was thinking of the lower music reminding me of Dead Can Dance and Lisa Gerard's vocals and stuff like that. I started singing halfway through. And then just loving being on the floor and being in my body and being able to feel and move. It felt very freeing, felt very engaging and wonderful, and like stress releasing hugely. So very grateful.
Yeah, I loved your reminder about the senses. That was great because I can get really just so body focused that I forget about, and right when you said that, the church chimes went, which was really a pleasant experience. When we were doing the Bartenieff sounds, so I get thinking about the head voice, the chest voice thing. Like when I was taught the Bartenieff sounds, I put my hand on the different parts of my body, and you're supposed to, and you feel a resonance there. And I couldn't feel the resonance there because I feel the resonance in the chest and I feel it in my head in all the vowels. That was just interesting to play with that. But then I stayed and the chest where I felt the resonance, and I moved my mouth to the different vowels. And even though, I started feeling a little subtle difference between the O and the oo and the ah, which was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Bartenieff version is just a little bit more prescriptive than the Continuum version, which is much more, it could be anything, it could be this, it could be that. And I really, for me at this stage in my life, I'm so much more interested in the possibility of and not knowing than in it's definitely like this, right? So like, and I mean, each person has a different experience depending on where they are and how much time they've spent with sounding and what they're expecting to hear or feel. So if the expectation is gone, then there's a lot more freedom to like, well, it is what it is, or this is what it is today. And maybe tomorrow it's going to be something else.
Yeah, it's really interesting the habits that some of us get into, even with our somatic training, like even with that training, we get into certain habits. And so the vocal stuff, the head voice, chest voice, that's talked about so much in singing, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Fabian had his dog. Do you want to open up your mic and just talk it, or yeah?
Yeah, I was just saying that I think when I was laying on the floor and making strange sounds, I excited the dog. So I was a little disturbed in the experience, but at the beginning I felt in the chest the vibration, and I felt it opened and relaxed the muscles, and I feel the opening of the chest with the vibration. Interesting.
Yeah, I want to say, like, if I'm laying on my back and start to do the sounding, I suddenly have so much more awareness of the back space. I feel my shoulders widen. I feel my chest. I feel like this whole expansion into the back space, which I was feeling also in the beginning when we were doing the sort of cave breath. When we were standing in the very beginning, I felt like, oh, I've opened up all this awareness. What else? How about Kathleen? How was it for you?
So when doing the sounding on the back is very, it's very helpful for yielding, because breathing in and then the sound going out, and so yielding. And then I always enjoy the continuum moments, because it feels like, I'm going to say for the other French person, la vie aquatique. It's like life underwater.
Yes.
So I like that. I always like that. I enjoy that. And when you spoke about the different sensations, I just took some mimosa in my house, and so that was really nice because I was right next to the mimosa when you said so. So just breathing in the springtime,
Nice.
smell of spring.
Nice. Cassie, you want to say anything? You've been pretty quiet.
I love the sounds that go up and then travel back down, because it creates kind of this like fluid visual for me that allows the vibrations to feel more sensational. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but I can like pinpoint where they're going as almost like these dots. And then once I get it, it kind of feels a little more cyclical and fluid. Yeah, it just brings everything down. And like you were saying, I feel my whole nervous system kind of drop.
Yeah. And how about you, Stephen?
Well, for me, it was, let's say I was exploring how the body was going and then and there, and I got a little bit trapped into that movement, which means that I forgot the holistic thing of a body that moves. No, it was, I am now down here. And so I was, I think, a little bit too much busy with the body itself. Even I was looking, but still I was going, censoring the body like that. And then we go like this. So for me, I think my focus was too much focused on the body and not on the whole that took place. Although the whole was taking place, but the conscious over it was point by point and not the whole.
Yeah, I feel like my cueing, what I'm saying, is really just to give you more access points to get into your body, right? And find different sensations. So you don't even need, like, you could mute me. If you feel like you found something interesting to stick with, you could just stay there for a while. Seriously, because, you know, like, I'm talking a ton. If we were in a continuum class, we'd have like a little bit set up and then we'd be moving for 2 hours without any extra stuff thrown in there. But I feel like I'm sort of a gateway drug between like the really form-oriented stuff and then the really free-form stuff. So I try to give like a lot of possibilities to get from here to there.
Yeah, but that's no, it wasn't the problem for me. It was really inside of me that was focusing, like I said, not on the whole of the body, but on the point, and now I'm here. So how do I move? Oh yeah, I'm moving. Oh yeah, I'm moving. And now I'm moving. So it was inside of me, and you can say whatever you want.
Peen, one more thing to say or no? No, okay. All right. Anybody else? I think we've all said something. Let's move some more. So let's, I kind of wanted to move with music today, but now I'm not so sure about that. I know what I want to do. I thought about this too. I want to play with, like, whether we know the Laban space or not, I want to play with where are certain things for you. So, and you can make up the things that are important to you, but like to me, wonder is super important. Like the sense of wonder is like, it's really just what keeps things interesting and alive. And so for me, wonder is sort of like, it's here. It's like, this is the movement for wonder. It's like coming forward high into that place. And then I was thinking about, well, what's this move? Like, what's this move? And what I realized is like, well, this is like, hi, but it's like drawing your attention to me. Like, I'm connecting to somebody, but I'm also bringing the attention to myself. Like, oh, you're over there. Look at me. and we have a connection through this space, right? I reach into that space and I'm connecting out there to draw you in. It's not just this into me, but it's me and you. So I was thinking about like what are these places around my body? What do they mean to me? So what I want to do is just explore what is important to you and where is it? So even if you think of 2 or 3 things, it could be something low, it could be something high, it could be something behind you, crossed, open, however you want to play with it. But just coming up to what are sort of body places that you already have that you maybe haven't named before. So just playing around with movement and seeing like, well, if I put my, or it doesn't even have to be good or bad or whatever, just things like if I reach over there, like it has a certain feeling. If I go back, that has a feeling. Like, so what, when you move around and you get to a place, move around enough that you can start to, but take your time also so you can sort of be like, well, what is that? Or what do I feel when I'm here? I named some very sort of obvious ones, that forward high with the wonder. Where is my wonder? Oh, it's there. It's my chest reaching forward high. Maybe safety. Where is safety? Or where is connection? Or where, like just thinking of anything that's important, where are those things? If you put, and maybe you could try them in different locations to see if that's where they are or not. And maybe you'll even come up with just 1 or 2 things. And maybe it's more about a movement than space. So it could, just making this really open, but just expression in your body. What does your body say? And it might not be something that's true tomorrow. Maybe it's just for your body today. So it doesn't have to be the ultimate truth, but some truth that you can feel right now. And it might even be a different body part. A head, your butt, a knee. Or a position that your body gets into. Or even maybe an action. And if you're feeling like you're kind of tossing for what you should do, look around at other people, see what they're doing, and maybe try on something somebody else has, even if you have a different item. Or no item, or different. And then let's bring it back in. And just see if anything arose, if you noticed anything, if like, oh yeah, this space is kind of like this, or this body position is like that, or this movement feels like this.
Anybody else going to talk, or I'll go?
Go.
All right. I found bilateral back place hive, like a back arch. It was like a place of surrender. It was like, if you could imagine like letting go, doing like a slow backflip into the universe and just being held in open space and knowing that that was okay. So it's a completely vulnerable position. I found like there's an advancing through my chest and torso. And if I bring energy and muscular engagement with it, it's about being present with bringing myself in a full way. I find that there's a lot of like in my own personal life desire to connect with another deeply, single, blah, blah, blah. And there's this like spiralic reach. There's this pretty big reach and spirally slow. And I think it's forward to the side mid height, but not totally to the side. It's probably on the horizontal plane, it's the front point. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I can relate to that connection, like, of that, into that forward. Yeah, there's an excitement there as well with that connection. What else? Who else noticed? What else?
Thinking about even just the vertical, the horizontal, and the sagittal points. I kept finding opposition, and then I would let that release to go either into like the forward or the back or the high or the low. But finding the opposition first gave such a nice elongating kind of stretch, and then kind of a release. So there was a little bit of maybe like dynamic and effort coloring that. But it also just is just from like a movement observational thing, having those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points as like a starting place, and then allowing it to morph into something else just feels like a really easy, safe jumping off point for any sort of movement exploration, where you always have these things to return to if you're like, oh, I don't know what to do.
Excellent. Yeah. I like, did you ever study Limon? Yeah, it's super Limon, like the stretch and then the swing and then right, like that, reach it out and then let it go, and that's very time oriented, right? Which would be sagittal. I mean, if we were going with Laban, like Laban terminology, but it can happen anywhere. Yeah, if we were going out with terminology with affinities and disaffinities. What else? What else do you guys notice? Kathleen.
So do I have to? Okay.
You're on.
So I was doing. I was finding to repeat kind of up and over, also back and arching. That's because I have to dance kind of in the corner like everyone else in my room to be away from the screen, and then down and really down and gathering. So that was nice. And another which was circular, horizontal plane, kind of like the top of the water, the waves. I was playing with the space, the levels a lot, and enjoying the expansion and the well, because it's opposite to gather.
Yeah, they're coming together. Yeah. Nice. What else?
Well, I made a lot of meaning in just a little fluctuation of the movement or the signs that this is stop and this is high. Oh, so just the shoulder and the hand gives an all different meaning, and so I made a lot of different meanings from meaning.
I play with that a lot too, that hand stuff, like how, what does each little tiny thing, they're so different, and we are all reading that all the time, right? Like the people that say, oh, no, I'm not angry. It's like, it's in your whole body. Like, I have to be blind not to see that. Or whatever. Or like the way that the hands, there's that whole Laban joke of like, come here. Like, oh, it's so good to see you, but I'm just retreating as far away from you as I can. Like, as opposed, or the people that really shove themselves into you when they hug. Just like, I don't know. Just, it's interesting, all of these. Yeah, 90% of communication happens non-verbally. Mm-hmm. What else? What else do you guys notice? What else popped up? Peen.
Yeah, spiraling backwards. I always go straight forward most of the time. And I was like, And I'm also discovering movement here. I didn't breathe here for a long time, I think, and now I really love the rhythm that I also can open the throat, and so I think I took that with me, like going backwards and spiraling. So that was really good to notice.
Yeah. I had something with the spiraling too that was really interesting, like almost like protective of my thing, like taking it back here. Like that was really funny to like just feel what that was. Like, oh, I'm gonna hide I'm gonna secret away my special thing over here. What else? Anything else?
I could picture specific things. For example, or it's like when I'm picking a fruit on a tree. It's like when I grab a child in my arm. It's like when I go and shake the hand of someone. Right? It's something I haven't done for a year, but it's still in my body. And but for all the movements which are backwards, it's blank. I mean, I have no image. No, so it was interesting to notice that.
Yeah, that's huge, right? That's why like the spiraling into that back space, like, oh, I'm hiding, but my pelvis is front, but my upper body's back. But how much is there like that kind of action? So it's interesting, like just the awareness of that the space behind us, the back body. Anything else? Yeah, it's interesting just to watch you guys moving right now and just to see like, yeah, and what Fabian said about all of these different meanings, that certain things that now we're not doing that, right? We're not doing this with anybody. We're not hugging. We're not, barely, if we are at all. Or then how do we shape with our animals, with our pets, with our family members? Yeah.
I noticed one more tiny thing. I think I let go forward into the ground. So I'm in low space and there's just maybe a brush or an almost brush with the ground. Just letting go of something little.
I
And it's
had
really surrendering. It's like, because surrendering's open, you don't know what's going to happen. And this is like choiceful or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had some hanging low stuff too, and I was like, oh, there's something. I feel like there's something. I want to say generous about going into forward low. It's like offering, right? You're making an offering, or you're giving something, or you're planting something, or there's all this forward low, like, yeah, that has like some kind of. For me, it feels like a spiritual offering, and I don't mean like bow down, but I mean like giving heart or giving something. It's interesting. Yeah. Well, I think we are coming to the end of our hour. Well, we've got 5 minutes left. So, is there anything that anyone would like to play with within this last 5 minutes? Anything that is of desire? Without putting anybody named Dawn too much on the spot, Dawn, do you have any like top technique little ideas, like a little short offering exploration? You can say no, but if you have something.
No, I don't have anything off the top of my head.
All right, think about it, and if it comes up again, we can think maybe just like a short 5 or 10 minutes or something. We can throw it in there. So let's do a hands thing. Let's put our hands together, rub them together. As you're feeling your hands rubbing together, see if you can kind of soften your jaw. Stupid, like droopy tongue, where your face gets really soft and easy. Yeah, see if you can like let go some of that stuff. And then just finding like the lightest touch of your fingers, and without dragging on, let's go for like the tiniest, like just touching the hairs, the little hairs on your face, like the tiniest, softest, most delicate way that you could possibly touch your face without digging in at all, but just onto the very surface. We're going to do like a few layers of this. So first layer is like this, the lightest, almost not touching of your face. Just and then let's go to like tree frog hands. So your fingers have a little, like they're stickier, and they can start to move your tissue around. And you can go wherever it feels delicious to play with that. Could be starting at the top, moving your way down, or maybe starting at the center, working your way out. However you feel like you want to do it. Yeah, and if you want to go into head and hair, by all means go for that. So yeah, you can get the 10 little dragons running through the forest if you're ready for 10 little dragons, go for it. Whatever feels good to you. And maybe you, like I can stick my hand on my face and then get the whole plane to move around. Just moving big chunks of tissue, or big masses of tissue together. So letting yourself play with that in whatever way feels the most nourishing to your head, your cranium, your skin.
This feels so good.
Yeah, we're all missing touch, right? We're all missing being touched. Yeah, so let's start to then let your maybe your whole hand, if you want to have more of a grasping feeling, you can start to squish in anywhere you want. Like it's easy on your arms, maybe shoulders, whatever body part needs it. Yeah. Or just staying with the fingers, or even doing the that kind of like it depends on how like how sort of rough and tumble or how sort of soft and delicate you are. Like I tend to need a lot of like much more intense activity along with the soft stuff, so feel free to little punch, a little Tarzan, maybe coming back to the voice a little, or the contralateral movement. Yeah, shaking it all out, letting it come to a shake. Let's just shake, shake, shake. Your shake can be pretty big. You can start trying to get the whole, shaking out your whole kinesphere. Adding sound or not. Ooh, just gonna go on the count of 10. We're just gonna get exaggerate, and then we'll stop and go into stillness. So going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bigger, 6, 7, or not, 8, 9, 10, and then just holding still in whatever way feels good, and feeling the life inside your body. And I'm going to end this with taking my fingers right there, right on the foramen magnum, which is just under your occipital joint. Basically, we want to come to the top of the nervous system with just the idea that you're going to create space. So you're not going to pull your hands away. You're just going to imagine that you're widening, deepening right there at the base of your spine, at the base of your skull, going down into your spine. So you're just opening up the space for your cerebrospinal fluid to move easily through your body. Softening that whole thing in. Yeah, lots of possibilities. If only we were taught this stuff in school at like, 2nd grade or 5th grade, like when we're 5. Like, oh, how do we touch light? How do we how do we imagine the space in this area? Like all of this internal, external stuff. I feel like the world would be a much more gentle place. Yeah. Yeah, well, feel free to come in with any final reflections
I was just gonna say, Laura, that I would love to be contributing. I would love to contribute in some way. Maybe next time I'll bring something if you'd like me to think about top technique, because it's been a while, but I kind of integrate it into my teaching rather than teach it specifically. But let me think about it because I
Yeah,
thought,
well, why don't we, if you want to come to the next session, do like 5 or 10 minutes of something that would be wonderful.
I'll plan on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and anybody else, if you have something that you want to offer, maybe like one person per session if that wants to do an extra thing.
Yeah, because you're so generous just offering these sessions. And I
It's,
feel happy to give back or, or just be a part of it. It's great. Thank you.
anything people noticed, anything that came in. Oh yeah, deep gratitude to all of you for being here as well. Yeah, a lot of this is like just this is what I need, and teaching this stuff and expanding it into the world like is important. Like I feel like that's one of the things with ownership with a lot of systems. It's like, don't you want it to go out there? Because a long time ago I was working for Equinox in the city, and I developed this Bartenieff workout. But then the Laban people were like, well, we only can have CMAs teaching that. And it was like, oh, I guess that's not going to happen because like they're not going to, it's just not going to work. So like, boop, there's one person teaching Bartenieff at the gym. It's me, and this gym is all over the world. But if they could make it just, yeah.
Then you went and got your CMA.
No, I had my CMA.
Oh, you already did? Oh.
I had my CMA in 95 and 96, but I was teaching at Equinox after that. I was teaching Pilates Bartenieff fusion, which was really not just Pilates or Bartenieff. It was so many things mixed in, even some Continuum. But it's a name that people can understand. And I was trying to put the Bartenieff name into the world, right? But Laban, the institute was like, well, we can only let the certified movement analysts teach that class. I was like, okay, it's not going to happen, But that's the way, like, when people own something too tightly,
Yeah.
it doesn't spread into the world.
Yeah. And when people don't own something tight enough and put their name on it and sell it, then their work kind of doesn't get acknowledged in the same way. I was thinking.
Wait, what do you mean? Like,
I was thinking the opposite kind of also happens. I mean, like I was thinking of Nancy Top's work, which is it's not a mainstream thing. You don't hear about it. It's because she died, and people do take it off, but there wasn't a hard, sell about it. And then other people do a hard sell. I'm not saying one is right or one is wrong. It's just that, they happen both ways, kind of. Sort of.
Yeah, I think you're right. I also feel like nobody owns movement. Like movement comes from all over the place. It shifts this way, it comes that way. It's nice to name the techniques or where you learn something while you're doing it, but nobody owns it, right?
It's like land. It's like the Native American land, nobody owns land really.
I feel that way. Yeah. Yeah. Back to Ottawa. Anything else anyone wants to add before we close it out?
It feels very rich. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, nice to have you, Pien. I'm glad you could make it.
I also wanted to say thanks for sending the link because I have been enjoying the sessions online. And
how did you find it? Where did it come up for you?
Because I'm studying Laban, I'm saying it in like French.
Yeah.
I'm studying Laban and I was interested in what you're doing. So I just, I'm taking advantage of the extra time I have more now that I'm teaching less because we're still not teaching very much in presence in France. So it's also Zoom and things like that.
There's somebody teaching in Paris, and I'm friends with her on Instagram. And yeah, I haven't actually spoken with her yet, except for we've had some back and forths. Like at some point, hopefully we're going to connect. It's like core something, atelier du corps, something like that.
I'm studying also with someone that lives in Paris, but she's Brazilian and she's an older woman. Her name is Angela Loureiro. Angela Loureiro. So do you know her? No.
Mm-mm.
So she's
but I'll try and note that down because I feel like the more the systems can integrate and like we don't all have to think exactly the same thing or like think that it's exactly like this, nitpick it, but let it organically be whatever it is in different people's bodies and different systems and still grow it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the one thing that the dance world also does, is like that idea of lack. But I feel like it's really shifting right now. Like the embodiment world and the Ismeta world and the Laban people are starting to have a little more space. I know. Amazing. All right, I'm gonna. Oh, Virginia just entered because she came late because it's almost over. Oh, because she's on the other time. All right, I'm gonna close it out after I say goodbye to Inja. I'm gonna close the recording. But if you need to go, go. And love you.